that we have Abi James with us tonight. Abi is the chair of the British Dyslexia Association New Technology Committee and also works for University of Southampton doing research into things such as accessible STEM. Prior to that, we worked together for the best part of a decade, so I'm really pleased to have you on. Nothing like a bit of nepotism. And also thank you for making time during what is probably the busiest week of the year for assistive technologists in the UK, that is BET Week. For those of you outside of the UK, BET is the education show, and it tends to be the meeting place for pretty much everyone in the assistive tech industry in the UK, particularly those with an eye on education. So thank you for joining us, and let's get straight on with it, because I know you're short of time.
Thank you for the invitation. Glad we could fit it in.
All right. So I'm particularly interested in sharing with our audience about the BDA and the work that you do with the NTC, because it's perhaps not as well known as we'd all like it to be, and so let's get the word out there. Can you tell us a bit about it?
So the New Technologies Committee, which was formerly the Computer Committee of the British Dyslexia Association, is it's a committee of volunteer professionals or retired professionals who have an interest in using technology to support individuals with dyslexia or specific learning difficulties. And we're there as an advisory committee for the BDA and also to undertake our own activities. So we cover the whole age range of expertise. We have people who have experience with working with early years, pre-K equivalent, so that's 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, primary setting, secondary setting, through to university and then through to workplace. Some of us are teachers, some of us are AT trainers and accessibility specialists. People like myself work more with the developers, and then we also have some of us are dyslexic individuals and use technology, so we bring that side to it as well, which is a really good melting pot of experience. And through that we try to disseminate information and advice on using technology through our own website, which is bdatech.org, where we try, which is a very difficult task to achieve as volunteers, to create up-to-date articles on technology. We also undertake presentations, and then any questions or queries relating to technology that come into the helpline that the British Dyslexia Association run, we assist where necessary, and then also get involved in policy activities to make sure that dyslexic people are treated as fair as possible. And the British Dyslexia Association goal is to achieve a dyslexia-friendly society. Now that's very dyslexia focused or learning disability focused, but there's a lot of overlap with other specific learning difficulties, dyspraxia, Asperger's, and obviously the technology is very similar to that used by a range of people with disabilities, so visual impairment. So a lot of our advice and materials are suitable for those with other types of difficulty, and we try and make sure that we're taking into account their particular problems. So I've been chairing the committee for about 2 years, and my particular individual focus is working on policy areas in particular, and I tend to bring in the more working with the developers and assistive technology, because as you mentioned at the beginning, I also am involved with research activities, actually evaluating how effective the technology is as well. But also from a personal experience, I've used technology to help me throughout my education to overcome my own dyslexia difficulties since I was about 14, 15. And I wouldn't have got through any of my exams or degree or postgraduate qualifications without having access just to even a basic word processor when it came down to it, but then all the additional tools that are available now.
I think that the piece you raised just now about exams is really important, because if people can't have access to accessibility or assistive tech or the help that they need during exams, we're stopping people reaching their potential, and that feeds into the stuff that we're doing here on AXSChat, which is talking about accessibility and general access to the workplace. And I think it's really important that we understand that without giving people the right tools that they need to be able to have a level playing field in exams, we are stopping people that may be of great potential coming into our workforce. So I know that there's a lot of work going on at the moment in the background with the BDA in terms of lobbying for accessible exams, and that you're involved in that. So maybe you could tell us a bit more about the stuff that you've been doing around accessible exams, because I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think my whole experience with working in the exam area is sort of typical of when we're trying to push the boundaries of the use of assistive technology and accessibility technology generally. We've been lucky in the UK in our high-stake exams. There's been a long recognition that there needs to be some additional accommodations for people with dyslexia and specific learning difficulties. And that's taken extra time, a reader or a scribe, so somebody writing for you. But with the development of technology, there's been a move to ensure that those candidates, pupils, learners, are able to work the way they normally work in education. But also there's a recognition that if a candidate's using technology, they can be more independent, they can demonstrate their skills more independently. So what started off the work, particularly with our committee, was there was a recognition from our legislation that a candidate who was able to read using text-to-speech, that's the computer reading to them, was reading independently, and that could be used to assess their reading skills. So that led to the availability of assistive technology even when it's supporting reading and that's being assessed. And then that has opened up a sort of Pandora's box, because what you tend to find with this sort of topic is people think that they just need to say yes. They don't always consider how it's going to be implemented, how they're going to provide materials that are accessible to the candidate, how they're going to train candidates. And we as a committee just started off by trying to develop some information. How do you do this? What tools will work? What tools won't work? And what we found is, like in so many other areas when we're dealing with accessibility, is awareness is lacking. People didn't understand that they had to check that the exams would work with the assistive technology. So we've had to do quite a bit of work on talking to people making assessments about what accessibility means, how to make a PDF accessible, and how to do that without compromising what they're actually trying to test the candidate on. And it's a journey we're still carrying on. It's a very politically sensitive area because you have to always consider that it needs to be a level playing field for all candidates. But we hope that by bringing together everybody involved, the graphic designers, the typesetters who are used to just creating a paper-based version and trying to bring them into the more digital world, along with accessibility specialists, that we are making progress. But examinations and assessments is always a contentious issue when you're coming to equal access for disabled children, students as well.
Yeah, I was lucky in that when I did my master's, I did it with the Open University, and they're very open to it. But it's a fairly expensive way that they go about it, because they send an invigilator to your home. You don't sit in a room all jabbering away using speech recognition. They send an individual invigilator around, and yeah, they're obviously wary of the fact that they know the technology reasonably well, and they understand that you could create macros and everything else, and they want a clean profile. So again, there are things that you need to be able to demonstrate so that you're not cheating. But it also means that you're probably using it in a way that you're not used to using it.
Yeah.
Because you're using a profile that's not trained to your voice, that might make more mistakes, that may put you off your balance. And you've also possibly got an invigilator that's not really used to listening to you dictate and is sitting there sniggering in the background. But that said, it was fantastic, and I really appreciate the fact that I was allowed to do that, because it made my whole exam experience completely different. Because what tended to happen previously was I'd do really well in coursework in term time, all of my verbal stuff would be great, and then it comes to the exams and it'd be meltdown time, and my scores would be way lower than the indicative grades that all of the tutors would put in. So I'm also a big fan of accessible exams because it worked for me, and it enabled me to reach the potential that my tutors thought. So I think it's important. I think that it's a challenge as well, because you mentioned all of the issues with the access to exams, especially when you're taking tests online as opposed to exams.
I mean, that's the sort of a twofold issue there. Schools in the UK are faced now with huge problems with the organisational implementation of trying to get candidates with enough staff and readers. So they see it as a possible logistical solution and a cheaper solution in that they don't have to pay people. But what we're now trying to get out is actually what's the benefit to the students, that they want to demonstrate independently that they can do these skills. And in Scotland, which although part of the UK has a different education system, different examination system, they've been doing this for 10 years. And they've talked to the candidates going through the system, and they can see that they're using the technology more because they don't have to put their hand up and say, can I have this read aloud, or they're not being overheard, so that they are more comfortable in themselves. It's more like their normal way of working, and that helps everybody. But it's that sort of joining the dots that we have to do as accessibility professionals to bring together the decision makers at schools, the examination boards, and the pupils themselves to say it will work. And that's the crunch in an exam situation, is it cannot fail. The technology has to work. And if we're trying to rely on it, we've got to make sure that everybody has the confidence that it's going to work on the day. And that's something that all of us have to take some responsibility for, and because it's a politically sensitive issue, there's always the factor of, is this compromising the assessment and risk to the assessment? So it's not something we're going to solve. In terms of the new technology and the web-based technology, yeah, that's great. It has some sort of inbuilt practicalities, but we have quite a lot of online exams already within our vocational qualifications, and they've just been designed without accessibility in mind. We've still got flash-based assessments going on, well, essentially candidates who want to use assistive technologies can't use it, and they're being given PDF files of an online exam because that is more accessible than the flash-based version. And although the companies that are delivering these assessments are aware of these problems, or when they become aware they want to solve it, it's not something that can be solved quickly. And they're learning. They are asking for the expertise, but that we are few and far between who are able to answer the questions.
Absolutely, and we see this with our e-learning materials. We've got a huge corpus of corporate learning materials within our organisation, and many other large organisations will have the same. And the effort that it takes to just turn around one course and make it accessible is quite significant. Yeah. It gets easier over time once you develop a framework, but retrofitting it is always very, very difficult. So yeah, that's a painful thing.
Accessibility by design from the beginning is always going to be the easiest path, but with these types of assessments, they've got years and years of life in them, and we need to make sure that there is a process for including accessibility within that design process. But there's also an issue we found within the UK that there are whole sectors of the publishing industry as such, and in exam boards, who are still so paper focused that they just aren't aware of accessibility and their considerations. Their proofreading processes are all about printing it off and reading it on paper, not considering if you reflowed it, what would it look like if you increased the font. And also they think that it's technically not possible. So now we're starting to look at, can we do maths exams and graphs and that type of thing? Can we solve those accessibility barriers? The default is that it's just not possible.
And that brings us on to the other topic that we wanted to talk about tonight, and that is that you're doing work on accessible STEM, which I think is it is a toughie. It's really my weakest area. I absolutely run a mile from anything maths-based. So credit to you for taking it on. But it's really important because actually we need to be able to give people access, and it's a challenge. So can you tell us a bit more about what you've been doing?
Yeah, well, I've had an interest in this area for the last 10 years since I got into this field, because my first degree was in meteorology, of all things, and that's very maths heavy, but it was actually perfect for me as a very visual dyslexic person, because there's lots of maps and images and 3D calculations, great. But I can never say any of the symbols. I can never proofread any of the symbols. I quite often mix twos up and mix symbols up, and I could never write them properly. And when I started to get involved in assistive technology, I sort of kept thinking about these students and thinking, well, what can I do for them? I know what we've got doesn't work. And that's continued to be a problem. And over the last couple of years, well, it's about 4 years, the government have been running in the UK competitions to develop assistive technologies in areas that they've identified as need. The first round of competitions was started in 2010, and I was involved in one of those to deliver alternative formats and technology about delivering alternative formats. And then there was a round of competitions that kicked off end of 2013, 2014, of which one was about accessible STEM. How can we use technology to help learners in college and in university access STEM qualifications and careers, and this is going from quite a basic level all the way through to degree high level. So we're interested in the engineers, but we're also interested in the plumbers and the car mechanics. And we were lucky enough at the University of Southampton through our commercial arm, ECS Partners, to get awarded one of the competitions with our idea to work on text-to-speech for maths. So it's something we're still working on. We've got till May 2016. But it's not just about solving the technology problem, it's all about also including all the stakeholders who could be using the technology. So we're talking to schools and colleges. We've got students who will be using it throughout the next 12 months, trialling the software, which is called STEM Reader. And then we'll also be talking to teachers of the blind, exam boards, about how to actually read maths. Because one of the big problems with maths accessibility is how should we be saying these symbols and this notation, and that varies depending on what field you're working in and what level of ability you're working in. So I'm really excited about the challenge we've got ahead, but it's really exciting also to be given the opportunity to raise the profile of maths accessibility and start talking to people about it and saying, let's solve this problem. Why can't we read maths aloud? Technically wise, yes, browsers still have limited support for MathML, but with EPUB 3 becoming more prominent and people looking to develop readers for it, we can see that in the next couple of years publishers will be using MathML to represent maths notation much more. So we need to make sure the assistive technology will read with it. And that's coming back around into the exam point of view as well.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm curious as to how that's going to plug in with the existing assistive technologies out there, because one of the big nightmares for me is interoperability of lots of different assistive tech. So are you working with the existing players in the market to make sure that how does it work effectively? Does it work as a plug-in, or is it a dictionary type approach?
So at the moment it's a standalone tool. Okay. We developed a web version as a proof of concept for the first part of the project, and we're now developing a standalone tool where you can capture MathML in it. So that's the notation that's used to create the coding that's used to create accessible maths. Because one of the things about maths is one line of an equation, it might look quite small, but actually you can have so many levels embedded into it. There's a lot of information that you need to unpack there. And although you can have some tools that will read the maths, they'll just read it all in one go. And there's no way of pausing or navigating backwards and forwards through that equation. So we've developed a tool that's separate to other assistive technologies, so you can work alongside it. You can activate STEM Reader when you get to an equation, and it will unpack it and allow you to navigate within the equation to different levels. So where you have 4x squared plus 3x plus 5, you can go 4x squared, and then you move to the plus 2x plus 5, and you can navigate through it. And we're also looking at how we can present it visually as well to navigate through for those who are more visual and want different representations of the tool. So we're not trying to create a whole screen reader or text-to-speech tool which has maths into it. It's about working alongside other people's assistive technologies as well. And also sort of dictionary content, making sure how you understand what does this symbol mean? What does sigma mean? What does plus mean even as well?
Okay.
And we're also finding that's going to help students who don't have English as as their first language, because they're often confused by these symbols. They know their native name for them.
Okay. Yeah, you can see me going pale when you start reading out the equations.
No, one of the things that you were mentioning about careers, and today a lot of the recruitment is happening online. And what type of work are you doing in that area in order to help candidates and recruiters, especially recruiters, to have awareness about this? Because sometimes it's not something that they don't want to do, it's just something that they basically don't know how to.
So with the British Dyslexia Association, we have a focus on the workplace as well, and there's growing recognition that as students have been better supported through education when they go to the workplace, they expect some type of support. So it's about making the employers aware of an individual's potential difficulties and what's reasonable to help them. So whether it's through a recruitment process, what adjustments you can make in a testing situation, or whether in an interview situation, and then about ensuring that their systems, IT systems, are accessible as well. And one of the interesting areas is documentation and ebooks and making people understand the very basics of how their materials they should be creating is accessible. The general population still don't know about using headings and styles within Word documents. There's a long way to go, but once they see the benefit of those, it can be quite easy for organisations to disseminate by saying, like, it will make your life easier if you just use these templates.
Yes, and I think we covered user-generated content and the challenge that it creates the other week. It's a huge challenge because it's running away from us. So we do need to do the job of education to everyone really, and make them see the import of giving documents a good structure. But also the people that are creating the frameworks within it need to be able to prompt us to, as users, to do this, because no one's going to go deep into the settings and find it.
Absolutely, it's about people having the confidence to know what to ask for, but often the users don't know where. There's still quite a low uptake in some areas of technology support, and I think also that people make assumptions, and one of the difficulties we have is that often individuals with a visual impairment will need something completely different to somebody with dyslexia, even though it's the same technology tools. And people make assumptions that, okay, yellow font on a background, that's our accessible colour setting. Well, no, not for everybody. And it's about having those options and making sure that they don't limit it just to what they've been told is the typical person. But when it comes down to it, there's still a lot of reluctance for individuals to declare they're having a difficulty, particularly in a recruitment process. But there is work going on in the UK through organisations such as BDF and Employability to sort of raise the profile and say, there are these group of people here. You need to make sure that you're including them in any recruitment processes.
It's tough, and one of the things we used to see when we were working for our previous employer was that we'd see all of these people get all of this wonderful stuff that would help them with their exams and their studies, and they would do really well. And when at the end of their course, we'd remind them that this technology wasn't going away and that they could have it in the workplace, and the numbers would just drop off like a stone because people don't feel comfortable declaring in the workplace situation. Now, some of that is around the fact that the structure for universities is different. They're encouraged to go on exam results and everything else. Therefore, it's within their interest to make sure that people have the equipment, everything else. They understand this, they're rewarded on it, and there are metrics. I think that the argument within business is there to be made. I think it's the same argument, but it's not as clear, and there's not the structure because it's not run by the state. Each business is different. There is definitely a benefit to enabling people to have access to assistive tech, but it's not in the same kind of framework, and therefore the companies don't necessarily open up or haven't. I think they are, I think there's a long way still to go, but it also takes us to reach a tipping point, and I know that we're working with the BBC around their neurodiversity policies, and the numbers that we know there are huge, as you'll know. For the BDF is one of the most oft quoted organisations for the incidence of dyslexia in the general population, and yet the numbers that actually declare and use the assistive technology are tiny.
But I think that's two factors that I think that's really important for all of us to take away is often we don't think of ourselves as disabled. I remember having the debate with the careers officer of should I tick the box to declare I had a disability because I didn't think I had a disability. But also when it comes to technology, for somebody to adopt technology into their life, it takes time and effort. And by the time they get to the workplace, it's too late. And we should be doing it at school. And we've been lucky in the UK up to now that we've had a very good support system in higher education, which gives training, it gives study skill support, it gives equipment. Now, that's all under review at the moment, but that enables students to see the benefits of using the technology and use it, but that's just, they see it in their mind of studying. And even then you get reports of students saying, well, I don't know what to do with it, how should I use it? Often because they haven't got to a situation when they need to use it. But where you hear really good cases is schools which are saying, okay, you're 12, you don't need to know how to plan an essay in great detail now, but I'm going to show you how to use the technology to do it. For when you get to it, you know what tools to use. And there's been some really good studies comparing reading books with text-to-speech or reading books with different colours and fonts compared to just reading it in a book, and giving everybody a choice, showing them that there are ways of doing it with technology and without, and you can choose it. And if you can get individuals adopting technology early on before it becomes a crisis point, then when they get to the workplace, they'll just put their hand up and say, well, this is just what I need. Yes. Like, people are now comfortable saying, I need a better chair because I've got a bad back. We need people to be saying, well, actually, I just need to have the ability to change the colours on my desktop. That's all I need to do. But if you don't do it, it's going to cause me problems.
Yeah, it's this is what I need to be effective, and I think and getting people to have that comfort level is really, really, really important.
Yeah. And that's what the BDA New Technologies Committee is trying to do. But it's a job of teaching, Senkos and teachers, special needs teachers and dyslexia teachers and IT teachers. So that's why we talk at events like BETS and try and disseminate it within the schools community to get them to have the confidence to work with the children, through to employers as well, so that they can open up to their employees and say, look, tell us what you want, tell us what you need.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I know we're on a tight time scale.
I just like to finish this type of interviews with a question about technology. Today we are overwhelmed with information about new things happening in this area. What developments in technology you see coming over the next year?
Well, I was thinking about this earlier on today, and I think actually in the English-speaking world, assistive technology is quite mature. We can do things, but the whole business model and technology model has been so disrupted by tablets, apps, that we're all still sort of trying to work out how they fit. And yes, there are areas of innovation like ebooks, and as they become more commonplace, but I think we need to find the balance between assistive technology being built in and every day, like Siri and ebooks on your iPad, versus that specialist tool. So I think there needs to be some innovation about how we deliver that technology and the business models we use to make it supported and the service models we do to ensure the training and support is there. But where I think there will need to be some innovation is in languages and specialist areas like STEM and supporting other alphabets in that area, because they are so far behind what support we have for English language at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much again. I know you've got to rush off and you've got a very busy week ahead, but thank you very much, and hopefully you'll get the chance to join in the tweet chat tomorrow as well. Great.
I'll try and report on what pre-bet gossip, depending on the hotel Wi-Fi, of course.
Okay, thank you so
Brilliant.
much.
Thank you.
Abby.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks.